right, hello everyone. My name is Jason. I know I've taught at least some of you before, but what we're going to be doing today, I'm a tutor here with Embrace. What we're going to be doing today is we are going to go over the most recent released exam. All right, so we're just going to march through the test. If anyone has any particular concept they'd like me to try and cover, just let me know. But other than that, so here. All right, well, we have two intersecting lines, and these are the angles that form across from each other at the intersection. They're vertical angles, which means they are equal. So we're just going to write that down. I always like writing down the whole equation, so that way you don't do anything stupid. So 5x plus 5 is equal to 7x minus 35. 40 is equal to 2x. X is equal to 20. B is our answer. Like I said, pretty straightforward. All right, so now this one's interesting because, so this is an absolute value question. Now, the way, like, let's say it didn't say what is the positive solution, it was asking you what both solutions were. The way you would actually read this is when you have an absolute value, it is equal to what it is equal to, but it is also equal to the opposite of what it's equal to. So normally, so you'd have two solutions, and the solutions would be these two equations, right? So this one becomes 2x is equal to 12, x is equal to 6, which is our answer because that's the positive solution. Now here we would have 2x is equal to 4, negative 4 rather, and then x is also equal to negative 2. Now, because this is a question number 2, it is definitely streamlined a bit for you. That's why it's only asking for the positive solution. By the way, if I'm going too fast or if you have any questions, just please let me know. And I will, if you have any questions or you think I'm going too fast, just please let me know and I can always slow down. Which of the following is equivalent to 4 times x to the third plus 8x squared? So here's how, well, first, what this is asking you to know is like, no, you cannot, they're adding them. You cannot combine terms like that, right? Now you're just going to check which ones actually multiply to the right numbers, right? So for example, when we do the multiplication, the x to the third term must have the coefficient of 4, right? Well, here, the x to the third term would have a coefficient of 24. That's wrong. Here, it would have 4, the x to the third term, but we do need to check the other. And here, the x to the third term would just be x to the third. So C is the only one that would have 4 attached to the x cubed. Moving right along. All right, so if 2n plus 12 is equal to 26n, what is the value of 6n? So this is just a straightforward calculation question. However, with that calculation, we do need to remember that, okay, we have to multiply this back by 6 at the end. So here we have, all right, so 2n plus 12 is equal to 26. 2n is equal to 14. Did I do that math right? Yes, 14. N is equal to 7, but now, nope, what did you just do? Oh, that's 26n, my apologies. We have 12 is equal to 24n, I missed the n there. But by the way, a teachable moment there, I just glanced real quick and I went like, oh, the number I was about to get is nowhere near these answer choices. It's just not even in the ballpark. Let me go see what I did, and I checked the equation over. So then we have n is equal to 1/2, right? Now note, 1/2 is an answer choice. They're trying to trick you because it's asking you for 6n. So the answer there would in fact be 3. All right. Quadrilateral ABCD is shown above. Which equation shows how the measures of the angles of the quadrilateral are related? All right, so now this is kind of a weird question because really it's just asking you to understand, like, you add these, Because it didn't even ask you to know there's 360 degrees in a quadrilateral. That's just a given. All this is asking you to do is add these together. I don't really understand what they're trying to test here because it's just so straightforward. But so what we're going to end up with is x plus 90 plus 2x minus 5 plus x plus 35. Now, they group the terms for you. Like, they don't even ask you to combine, x and 2x and x. Like, they just don't. The answer here is, like, A is just literally putting these things next to each other. I'm not entirely sure what they're testing. This is like an insanely basic question. Now here, in a right triangle ABCD, or rather ABC, the length of side AC is 12. All right, I'm just going to start drawing this. It says side B is the right angle, so that's our right angle. The measure of angle A is 40. It does not matter which one of those is which. So angle A is 40. And side AC, which we've described as the hypotenuse, is 12. Which of the following can be given? The measure of angle C. Sure, well, if this is 90, we know two angles, so the third angle would just be 180 minus 90 minus 40, 50. Not that it asks us to do that, but we can solve for the remaining. Now, so anything, we can go to our answer choices, and if it doesn't have one, we can get rid of it. So now the side length AB, right? So you can figure this out. The way you would figure this out is with trig. We have an angle, we have a side, we can figure the rest out. Now, just for the purposes of them possibly showing you a harder question later on, what's going on here is, so side AB would be there, right? So side AB, we have the hypotenuse, which is the 12. And from the perspective of 40 degrees, that's the adjacent, right? So if we had our SOHCAHTOA going on, all right, this would be CA, right? So cosine of 40 is equal to x over 12, adjacent over hypotenuse. 12 cosine 40 is equal to x. That's if they asked us those things. But just, we can use trig to get this. We can use addition and subtraction to get that. The answer is C. Anyone have any questions on anything thus far? Moving right along. Oh, we do have a question. 8. Yeah, we'll get to 8 in a second. We're just marching through, but yeah, we will definitely get to 8. So in the XY plane, line L has a slope of 2. All right, line K is perpendicular to line L. Okay, so I can already tell this is about perpendicular lines, right? Perpendicular lines, they meet at 90-degree angles. And the relationship between the slopes is the slopes are opposite reciprocals. If your original slope is 2/3, your opposite reciprocal is negative 3/2, right? Now here, our original slope is 2. Well, you can think of a slope as 2. It's 2 over 1. So the reciprocal is negative 1/2, right? So that's the slope we're dealing with. And it contains this point, which the equation in the line. All right, well, we have the slope and we have a point. So here's what we can do, right? We would have y is equal to negative 1/2 x plus b, right? Now, that is the slope. That's the y-intercept. But xy, what that represents is any point on the line, right? So we have a point on the line. We have 4, 2. So we can just plug that in for x and y. By the way, something I always do, because otherwise I know I'm going to get this backwards, is I literally write x and y in on my tests above which one's which. So here we have 2 is equal to negative 1/2 times 4 plus b. 2 is equal to negative 2 plus b. B is equal to 4. Boom. So now we know the equation is y is equal to -1/2 x plus 4. D is our answer. All right, now we'll get to question 8, Yusuf. All right, so given the equation relates variables c, x, and y. Now here it says c is greater than 0, x is greater than 0, y is greater than 0. So this is just letting us know everything's going to be positive. Which equation correctly expresses y in terms of c and x? So this is just asking us to solve for y. So all we're doing is moving the variables, right? So now let's just apply algebra like we would with an equation that had less variables, and just apply it in a like straight step-by-step manner. So we have c is equal to x times y, and we are trying to get y by itself. Well, first let's get it out of the denominator. We'll multiply both sides by y. You're dead to me. All right, so now we have yc is equal to x, right? Well, now to get y by itself, like let's say it was 7y, we would know exactly what to do. So if we divide both sides by c, well, now we have y is equal to x over c, right? And that's our answer. Pretty straightforward. Another thing you could do, you don't really need to do it on this one, but like let's say you get here and you have a brain freeze. Yeah, let's say you get here, suddenly have a brain freeze, and you just don't remember how to do that. Well, you can also do this by making up any set of values that work. So if I let x be 2, if I let x be 10, y be 2, and c be 5, right? Basically what we want is, right? So what we want to do is we want to find the one where if we put in x and c, it would still give us 2, right? And note with the answer we got, right? Okay, well, if we put in 10 there and 5 there, yeah, that'll spit back out 2. Now on this one, you definitely want to have the algebra, be able to do the algebra, but like that's a backup, right? You can literally just, because this is all about ratios, you can literally just make up any set of variables that work and try putting them in. Any questions? Oh, yeah. So all the purpose of those signs, the purpose of these signs right here was just to let us know that all of the numbers were going to be positive. Which is kind of funny because that's not at all relevant to this question, but there's a lot of questions where that could be relevant. So that was just defining them all as positive numbers. All right. The function f is a linear function. Okay, we're dealing with a line. The y-intercept of the graph in the plane is 0, -12. What is the y-intercept of this graph? So here's another way. Another way of saying f of x is just y for whatever x is. Like if we had a line and we had y is equal to f of 1, right? Well, f of 1 is the y value when x is 1, right? So here, well, we know the original y value, right? Because it's telling us the y-intercept, right? So that's the y value when x is 0, y is 12, right? So, well, when x is 0, that is the same thing as having the y-intercept. So really, all we're doing here is we're just adding 2 to -12. That's it. It's asking us what is the so we're just adding that y value, so it's saying what is the y-intercept, so that's saying what is f of 0. Well, we already know f of 0 is -12, and then we just add 2 to it. B is our answer. Does anyone have any questions about how I explained that? Moving right along. All right, so this is asking which of the following is/r an x-intercept of this graph, right? So what is an x-intercept? An x-intercept is a value that will make y 0, right? It's where it crosses the y-axis. It's a value that will make y 0. So now here's the thing with this. Well, one, we can just check. They happen to just give us options that we can check. So what will reduce this to 0? Okay, well, one thing that will reduce this equation to 0 is -3. -3 plus 3 is 0, and then everything is multiplying or divided by 0. So the answer has to have 1 in it. So you're gone, right? 2 works for the same reason. If you put 2 in there, everything drops to 0. So 1 and 2 work. Now, here's the thing with 0, 0. Not only does it not work, but it creates an undefined question. Basically, if you plugged in 0 to this, like let's say you actually graphed this, what would happen is whatever the value was, like, all right, this would be a parabola of some kind, you'd actually have a skip at 0. Like, this equation can never have 0. It would become undefined, and that's not something you're allowed to do. So our answer is C. All right, so guys, I don't know if you noticed, do you see what I mean by straightforward? I am good at the math section, but we have covered 10 questions in about 17 minutes, and that's with me talking and explaining. This test was pretty straightforward, which is good. But I know some of you, like I said, I know some of you are from the Pennsylvania classes, and you're probably used to much, much harder questions. All right, so the graph of y is equal to 2 to the x minus a is shown, where a is a constant. What is the value of a? 2 ways we can get this, all right? So one way we can get this, well, guess what? Anything raised to the 0 is 1. Anything raised to the 0 is 1, right? So here, when x is 0, when x is 0, y, like if you take a look, when x is 0, y is -4, right? So, or rather -3, not -4, -3. So if we had if we know we need to get to -3, and then 2 to the 0 would be 1. So, and that would be minus a. So a is equal to -4. No, sorry, a is equal to +4. Yeah, because it would be -1, -4 is equal to -a is 4. Another way you can do that, if you forgot that little part, I mean, it's functionally the same, but you can just pick any point on this line, right? Like, let's say you forgot what I just said. Well, that's a point on this line. You also could have picked any point on this line, right? So here, y is 0, so 0 is equal to 2, and then x at that same point when y is 0 is 2 minus a. So 0 is equal to 4 minus a, which gets us right back to 4. Excellent. 15. Nope, not 15. I don't know why I said that. 12. All right, so 12 is an interesting question. I actually had to stare at it for a little bit, because the only thing that makes this like not completely trivial is the fact that there's no calculator and these are weird numbers to multiply by. But there's actually like a cheat where you don't have to do like intense multiplication. So for a certain group of fish, the graph models the relationship between body length, L, in centimeters, and tail area, A, in square centimeters. And it's defining this range for between 6 and 34. Which equation represents the relationship between body length and area, right? Well, so we have points on this line, right? That is the key to getting this. Like, we have points. So let's pick this as our first point, right? So our first point is, and like, so this is a little bent, but like it's close enough to being a straight line. We can just pretend it's a straight line. So here we have 15,5, right? So we have 15,5 as 1 point, right? So, well, the equation needs to make that point work. I forget treat it like a line, we don't need to. Whatever equation is correct, when we plug in 15 for L, we need to get 5 back, right? Like, that's just how that works. So, first things first, it's always L squared. So, and now this is where it's a little annoying. You're going to have to actually multiply 15 by 15. Just annoying, but it is what it is. So that's just going to be 25, 75, 0, 5, 1, 225. Cool. So 15 squared is 225. I'm just checking that to make sure I didn't do something embarrassing. Nope, it is. So now what we have to ask is, we want, when we have 225, we need to multiply it by one of these things and get 5 back. Well, like, these would all make it get higher. None of those can work. So it has to be A, and that's how you avoid the really obnoxious multiplication. Yeah, moving right along. Ooh, hold on one moment. Sorry about that. All right. So if xy is the solution to the system of equations, what is the value of x? This is just asking us to solve a system for x. So this is, I think the only reason why they think this is a 13 is this is one of the rare ones where you actually have to, when doing the elimination method, apply what's going on to both of them. So, but in effect, what we need to do is, if we use elimination method, we need to make it so that the variables cancel, or at least one variable. Now let's make it y that cancels, because we are in fact trying to solve for x. So when we can make, so let's get them equal at 12. So if we multiply the top by 3 and the bottom by 2, the y's will both be 12. So that's 24x minus 12y is equal to 21. And then on the bottom, 6x plus 12y is equal to 24, right? So then, because one's minus and one's positive, we can add them together to cancel. If they were both positive, we'd just be subtracting. Like, you can add or subtract, it does not matter. But we get rid of those, and now we have 30x is equal to 45. So then we just do some division. X is equal to 45 over 30, which is 1.5. Boom. Anyone have any questions on anything we've discussed thus far? Okay. In the systems of equations, k is a constant. Okay, so k is the slope. We have 2 lines. The system has exactly one solution. So let's just take a little pause here. When you're dealing with 2 lines, there's only 3 amounts of solutions you can have. You can have one solution. One solution occurs when they have different slopes. You can have no solutions. That is when the lines are parallel, but have different y-intercepts. And then you have infinite solutions. That is when they are parallel and have the same y-intercept, which is to say they are the exact same line. There's no fourth option. Those are the only ways. So here it's saying the system has exactly one solution, right? Well, that just means they have different slopes. Like, if they have different slopes, there's one solution. That's all there is to it. So which of the following could be k? 2. No, 2 is literally the only thing it can't be. If they have the same slope, they'd be parallel lines. So we can get rid of, well, it's 2. Everything else, 2 is fine. It's a different slope. So the answer there is 2. 15. The given function b models the number of flower beetles in a certain area. So this is an exponential growth function. We can tell that because there is the exponent. And just to refresh your memories, for exponential growth, here's the way I like you guys to remember it, because like, yes, your teacher taught you something in class where it's like, oh, we'll use Y and we'll use all these other letters. Like, just remember it from a functional perspective. The new value is equal to the original value times 1 plus or minus the percent change raised to the amount of time it takes to compound once, also known as the compounding period, right? So here, when I say 1 plus or minus percent change, if it's a 2% increase, it would be 1 plus 0.02, right? Now, compounding period, let's say it compounds every year, and we have 5 years, we put a 5 there. That is that equation general. So here, we're starting with 100, we have an 11% increase, and it happens every day, right? Now, which of the following is the best interpretation of this number in this context? So the best interpretation of this number is it's increasing 11% every day. Like, it's going to be something along those lines, but it's 11%. The model predicts there were approximately, nope, that is the new value, right? That would be what BT is. That's gone. The model predicts that the number of flower beetles in the area increases by approximately 1.11 each day. Now, this would be if it was like a line and the slope was 1.11. This is increasing. The reason why this is wrong is this is exponential growth. So it's not increasing by 1.11. It's increasing 1.11 on what it was the day before. The model predicts it will take approximately 1.11 days for it to double. Nope, doubling is not involved in this. So the answer is Dave, but the model predicts that the number of flower beetles grows by a factor of approximately, that's the language that gets us to that exponential growth. Yeah, moving right along. So now we're, does anyone have any questions on the first 15? All right. So in the xy plane, the graph of y is equal to 1/2 x plus b, where b is a constant, intersects the x-axis at -6, 0. So x, y. Now note, this is where y is 0, not where x is 0. So what of the following is the value of b, right? Well, we have a point and we have a line, like, let's just plug it in. 0 is equal to 1/2 times -6 plus b. 0 is equal to -3 plus b. B is equal to 3. Boom, we're done there. For part of a trip, the car traveled directly away from its starting point at a constant speed. Okay, this is distance, this is time. The graph shows the car's distance from its starting point in miles for times from 2 hours to 2.5 hours, right? So that's that. What is the speed in miles per hour? So it's even telling us what units we want. Basically, we just want to divide, we want to find, how do I put this? This is kind of just asking us for the slope. If we want to know how many miles it traveled per hour, okay, well, how many miles did it travel and how long did it travel in those, right? So let's just pick 2 points. So this point would be 2.5, 135. And this point is 0, 110. Slope formula is change in y divided by change in x. So that is 135 minus 110 divided by 2.5 minus 0, which is, I'm having a little bit of math fail. 135 minus 110, 5, 2. All right, yeah, it's 25. I don't know why that one was a little rough on me. All right, so it's 25, right? And then it's 25 divided by 2.5. Oh, sorry, that's 2. That's why the numbers weren't working. 2. So it's 25 divided by 0.5, which is 50. Boom. All right. Now, this is hands down the hardest math question on the entire exam. Like, it's so much harder than all of the others. But it's pretty specific, and if you've been doing old practice tests, you've seen it before like a couple times. So this is asking us to find the radius of a circle, right? Well, so just as a little refresher, the way the equation of the circle in a coordinate plane is x minus h squared plus y minus k squared is equal to the radius squared. Now here, hk represents the center of the circle, and r represents the radius, not r squared. R represents the radius, right? So what we need to do is we need to figure out how to make this look like this. And at first, it seems very difficult, but actually, it's just conceptual. What you need to do to make that look like that is you do what's known as completing the square, and you do it twice. So let's group our x terms, and we'll group our y terms. Right? So now completing the square is basically it's a way of solving a quadratic. Typically, you only have one to do it, but what you're doing is here, you basically you divide 8 by 2, right? And that'll give us set 4. And then you square it and you add it. So plus 16. Now, the reason why it's called completing the square is, oh, fun. This is a perfect square, right? Another way of saying this would be x minus 4 squared. Now, why does that work? Well, that's why we added 16. Like, we literally designed it so that that would work out. When we divided that by 2 and squared it, that's what lets us collapse it back into x minus b over 2 squared, right? So now, though, what we also have to do is we can't just add 16 to one side. We have to have added it to both sides. So now that is equal to 40 plus 16, right? Now we got to do the same thing with the y. So y, so we have 10. 10 divided by 2, 5 squared plus 25, right? And then that, so now we have to add 25 to this side as well. And this collapses into x minus 5 squared, right? So now we have to add these together. They add to 81, which is good because we have to take the square root of that, and this makes our lives much easier. But here is actually the equation of that circle. It is x minus 4 squared plus y. Oh, that's supposed to be a y. Y minus 5 squared is equal to 81, right? So this circle is centered at 4, 5, right? And the that 81 is r squared, so the radius is 9, right? And you can kind of tell you did this right when the answer you get is not like the square root of something, because you can't even really put that on the test. And by can't really, I mean you absolutely cannot put that on the test. Anyone have any questions on that? Like I said, this is by far the hardest question. It requires you to understand completing the square. All right, so by the way, I'll just show you another example of completing the square for just a regular quadratic. Like, let's say we had x squared plus 4x minus 17 is equal to 0, right? Here is how you would actually, now this isn't going to product sum nicely, nor will it quadratic nicely because you have a big number. So, by the way, only complete the square when a is 1. If you have a different coefficient on the x term, like don't do it, use quadratic formula. But basically what you would do here is you would do x squared plus 4x, and then you would move this 17 over to the other side, right? Divide that by 2, 2, square it, plus 4. So now what you would have is, and then you add 4 there. So now you collapse this down. This becomes x minus 2, oh, sorry, x plus 2 squared is equal to 21. We're almost done. Take the square root of both sides, right? Now, what happens to the right side is, because you see how we took the square root of something squared, that makes this side plus or minus. So now we have x plus 2 is equal to plus or minus 21. X is equal to negative 2 plus or minus the square root of 21. And if you'll notice, that is probably the easiest way to answer a question where like you just have this like nightmare of a, like, you know, like clearly this would be a nightmare to quadratic formula, but it would even be worse to product sum. Like you just can't even really do it. So that's completing the square, but we will now move on. All right. In the given expression, a is a constant. The expression is equal to x to the 6th, and x is greater than 0. What's the value of a, right? So what did it tell us? Well, when it said it's equivalent to that, one thing it told us is that this is just equal to x to the 6th, right? Well, let's apply our exponent rules here, right? So just real quick, our exponent rules: x squared times x to the 3rd is x to the 5th. X to the 10th divided by x to the 3rd is x to the 7th. X to the 3rd to the 4th is x to the 12th. And the ones that people don't remember tend to be like x to the 3rd is equal to 1 over. So x to the negative 3 is equal to 1 over x to the 3rd. And x to the 2/3 is the 3rd root of x squared, right? So those are, by the way, that's like the list of exponent rules you need to know for the test. So what we want to do here is like, well, let's rewrite this. So if we rewrote this, we would have x to the 3/2, right? Because the 3 is on the inside and it is the square root, and the square root is also, you know, the 2nd root. So it's that to the a is equal to x to the 6th. X to the 3/2 a is equal to x to the 6th. Since they are to the same thing, we can just kind of ignore the x's. And we will know that 6 is equal to 3/2 a. A is equal to 12 divided by 3. A is equal to 4. Boom. All right, and that is the entire no-calc section. Does anyone have any questions on anything we covered there? Yeah, so pretty straightforward. We still have another 20 minutes of math, so we're just going to roll right into the next section. I skipped 19. Did I skip 19? I did skip 19. Okay, thank you for catching that on me. All right, so 2 ways you can do this. Here's the really easy way. The sum of the solutions is just negative b over a, right? So if you have the standard form and you have ax squared plus bx plus c, negative b over a is the sum of the solutions. So the answer to this is 6. Done. But while we're here, we'll go on to this a little bit more in depth. So the other things you can get just from glancing at standard form, right? That's the sum of the solutions. C over A is the product of the solutions. C is the y-intercept. And negative b over 2a is the x coordinate of the vertex. right? And then you can get the y coordinate by solving it and plugging it back in. Those are the things you can get just from glancing at the standard form. Now, the other way you could get the sum of the solutions here is to actually solve it. Like, don't think you need to be fancy. That would also work. So I'll just show it to you completing the square, so you can hopefully remember how to complete the square. So that would become x squared minus 6x is equal to -7. So what would we do here? Divide by 2, right? Divide by 2 and then square it. So that's +9, and then we're adding 9 there. This gets collapsed down into x minus 3 squared is equal to 2. X minus 3 is equal to plus or minus √2. X is equal to 3 plus or minus √2. Now, so the solutions are x plus √2 and x minus √2. Well, when you add those together, the √2 cancels. So it's just 3 plus 3, which gets us back to 6. The reason why I explain it both ways is, like, please don't guess about negative b over a. One of my students got like almost a perfect math score. I'm so frustrated with him, but he did great. It was wonderful. You know, he got an almost perfect math score. The only question he got wrong on this entire test was this one, because he put b over a instead of negative b over a. If you're not like 100% sure you remember that, just answer the question. He had a good day. All right, moving right along. So it will take 6 hours to travel m miles. At this rate, how much time in hours will it take to travel 5 m miles? Okay, well, m is equal to 6. 6 times 5 is 30. Yeah, it's that straightforward. Because literally it's telling us it takes 6 hours to travel m miles. All right, 2. If 2x plus 4 is 100, then what is 6x plus 12? So 2x is equal to 96. Divide by 2, divide by 2. X is equal to 48. So now 6 times 48 plus 12, right? And please note 48 is an answer in case you've forgotten what you're being asked. Now, do this on your calculator. Like, don't try and do that in your head or on the paper. There's no reason. We're on the calculator section now. So that is 228. Sorry, 288 plus 12, 300. 300 is our answer. Huzzah. All right, 3 is a unit conversion question, albeit a straightforward one. They haven't asked like a really hard unit conversion question in a while, like one of those multi-steps ones. A length of 8 furlongs is equivalent to how many meters, right? So what are we, and this is telling us the exchange rate, for lack of a better term. So 8 furlongs is equal to 201 meters divided by 1 furlong. So why did I know to put 201 on top and 1 furlong on the bottom? Sorry, they're not equal. It's, never mind. I'll explain that better. So we have 8F, right? And we are trying to get to meters, right? Well, here's our conversion rate. If we multiply this by 201 meters over 1F, right? The furlongs cancel, and then we're just left with meters, right? We're playing a game where we're arranging what we're told are our conversions so that we're left with the unit we want. Now, like on harder questions, this would be multi-steps, but here it isn't. Now, I don't even need to use my calculator. This is 8 times 200 something. Like, it's going to be a real big number. Moving right along. 4. The curve models the number of fish in a certain population. Which of the following is closest to the number of fish in the population 16 months after January 2015? All right, so one thing you want to do right away is you want to check the axes just to make sure 0 is January 2015. In this case, it is. Well, like, all this is asking us is where is 16? 16, let's draw a line up. Let's draw a line over. So the reason why I draw the line up and over is just to make sure, like, I don't want like to derp and like, oh, like just completely misread it, and just draw the line. 15. Ooh. All right. What is the ratio of AB to BC? So AB is 20 and BC is 5. Yeah, 20 to 5. Literally just kind of tells you they didn't really try and make this hard. I was expecting them to want you to get 4 to 1, but just no. This is one of those questions where it's like I'm not even sure why they're asking it. But that is what it is. Each of the whole numbers from 1 through 20 is written on one of 20 identical pieces of paper. The pieces of paper are then put into a hat and mixed together. If a piece of paper is selected at random from the hat, what is the probability it will be a multiple of 3? So the way I started this is, okay, let's list what numbers actually are multiples of 3. Because we know there's 20 numbers. 3, 6, 9, 12, 15, 18, right? So there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 possible outcomes. That'll work. So there's 6 possible outcomes out of 20 total outcomes. C is our answer. All right, we have 12 minutes left. I'm going to jump ahead to some harder ones. Let's get out of the easy ones. All right, we're going to stop here for 1 second just so I can explain box and whisker charts, because I know you guys in the Pennsylvania class probably haven't seen one of these. Well, I mean, you haven't seen one of these from us. So here's the deal with box and whisker charts. This line, that's the median. This is the lowest value. This is the highest value. Now, what this and this represent is technically like they're the 75th percentile and the 20th percentile. But another way of thinking about it is if you started at the median value and only counted that data to the end value, this is the median of that data. And this is the median of all the data located between the median and the lowest value. That's what all the parts of that mean. Here, it's literally just asking you what's the median, like, cool, 42. She's asking what's the median there. Where it gets a little rough is when they expect you to know what those mean. All right, heading for some more difficult questions. All right, which of the following additional measurements to the triangle provides enough information to determine length AB? This is so strange because I feel like they asked this question, like the exact same question on the other section, and they're just testing it twice. But if we get the length of AC, well, then we can use Pythagorean theorem. We know 2 out of 3 sides. If we get the measure of angle ABC, well, now we can just use trig. Either of those works. So not that one. This one, please, please, please know these. This is one of those median ones. Remember, whenever you're dealing with a median question, it is not the value in the middle of the chart. It is the middle number in frequency if you arrange them all in order, right? So Paulina has 28 books in her collection. The frequency table summarizes the number of pages in each book. If she buys a new book that has 62 pages, how will this impact the mean and the median? All right, well, first things first, they added a higher number. The mean will go up, right? Like mean is the average. If we add a number greater than the average, that number will increase. And this is adding a brand new highest number. So the mean will increase. So we can get rid of those. Now the question is about the median. So let's figure out what the median is. The median originally was, and now here's the thing, if you have an even amount of data, you take the amount of data, you divide it by 2, and then the median is the average of that value and the next value. So the median is the average of the 14th piece of data and the 15th piece of data. So what would we do? All right, well, that's the first piece. That is through the third piece. That is through the 7th piece. That is through the 12th piece. And then this here, this is through the 17th piece, right? So both 14 and 15 are located at in this, both 14 and 15 have 50 pages. So the original median is 50. Great. However, now we're adding a new piece of data. So now if we add this book, we now have 29 pieces of data. If we divide 29 by 2, we get 14.5. So with that thing I showed you with how to figure out which piece of data is the median, if you get a fraction, it's just the next piece. So now the median is just the 15th piece of data. Well, the 15th piece of data is still located at 50, so the median remains the same while the mean increases. Anyone have any questions on that? All right. The recipe requires F cups of flour. Arnold accidentally used 50% more flour than the recipe required. How much flour? So note, it is 50% more. The way you can figure out what 50% more of something is you just multiply it by 1.5. 1.5 F, and yes, that is actually a question 24. What's going on with this one? A group of students participated in a study. It was determined that for each hour of experience performing a certain task, the time necessary for each student would decrease by 5%, right? This is an exponential decay question. Wendy took 30 minutes to complete the task with no experience. All right, our original value is 30. That gets rid of D. Which function models the amount of time, T, it will take Wendy to complete the task after X hours, right? Well, so like I said, new is equal to original plus or minus the percent change to the compounding period, right? Well, here it says it's a 5% decrease. So that becomes 1 minus 0.05, right? So the number inside here is supposed to be 0.95. Oh, and C is the only one that gets that right. C is the answer. All right. Yeah, again, I'm not really sure why this is 27, but I'm not complaining. An equation for the graph shown below is y is equal to x minus 1 times x plus b, where b is a constant. What's the value of b? Okay, well, this is a parabola in x-intercept form. 1 is one of the answers. The other answer is -3. So now one thing to note, that means x is -3. It will actually be, the value of b would actually be +3. That's just like one little thing. I guess that's a place where they could get you, because it would be, it's generally x minus. So for plus b, it is going to be it's gonna be +3. I don't like that question. I mean, it's not a hard question. I just don't like it. All right, so 29. What is the sum of the solutions to the given equation? So now this is a, how do I put this? This is like, we're already halfway through completing the square here. Like, they started us most of the way through. So if we have x minus 3 squared is equal to 81, well, we're going to take the square root of both sides. Now we have x minus 3, but that is equal to, remember what happens when we take the square root of something squared? Plus or minus 9, right? So now we have x is equal to -3, sorry, +3, because we add that over, plus or minus 9. So when you add these together, the plus or minus 9 will cancel, and you'll just be left with 6, which was the answer you got last time as well for the other version of this question. But all right, so it's also, it's 12 plus negative 6, if you actually did that out. All right, so this is literally another median question, just presented with a different type of chart. So each of the 3 data sets is represented by this with 15 values. So if there's 15 values, what's the median value? Just like take a second and think and just see if you can get that on your own. Great. It is, if you divide it by 2, that's 7.5, which means the median is the 8th piece of data, right? So it says the medians of data sets A, B, and C are A, B, and C. What's the relationship? So they all have 15 values, so it's always going to be the 8th piece of data. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The median of this is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The median of this is 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. The median of this is 5. Our answer is D. All right, let's finish up with not that one. Let's finish up with this one. Yeah, this one. So because they've asked this a few times, it's not hard, but like you just have to get it conceptually. So this is what's known as a scatter plot. Each one of the points represents an actual measurement of the data, right? Like we stopped and this was the number we got. This is an imaginary line. This is known as the line of best fit. This is our prediction based on the real data, like if we had to guess. Now, but this is fictional. These are real. So here it says the scatter plot shows 11 data points along with a line of best fit for the data. For how many of the data points does the line of best fit predict a Y value that is less than the actual value, right? So this is asking where the prediction was less. So that is all the points above. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it does it 5 times. Yeah.
Okay, so thanks for watching, and please remember to contact us at info@embracetutoring.com to set up any personalized private tutoring sessions you would like. Stay tuned for future videos, and best of luck with your studies. We definitely encourage you to visit our Instagram as well as TikTok pages if you have any questions along the way. Take care, guys. Best of luck with your studies.